Wu never wanted to be special. He just wanted to deliver his cargo and get paid. The ship shook hard again, and warning lights filled the small cockpit with red. Wu grabbed the controls and tried to keep the old freighter steady, but it was no use. Something had gone very wrong with the engine, and now he was falling toward a planet he had never seen before. Come on, he said to the ship, pulling the controls back with all his strength. The ship did not listen. It never did. Wu was 28 years old and had been flying cargo ships since he was 19. He was not a soldier or an explorer. He was just a man who moved boxes from one place to another. His ship was old, bought cheap from a scrapyard and held together with hope and tape. Most days that was enough. Today was not most days. The planet below was purple and blue, with swirling clouds that looked like someone had painted them. It was beautiful, but Wu did not have time to enjoy the view. He was too busy trying not to die. The ship hit the atmosphere and began to burn. Wu could feel the heat through the walls. He closed his eyes and thought about his mother back on Earth. She had told him not to take this job. She had said the outer routes were too dangerous. He should have listened. But then he never listened. That was his problem. The ship crashed through the clouds and Wu saw land below. There were forests of silver trees and rivers that glowed soft green. In the distance, he could see a city with tall towers that reached toward the sky like fingers. The towers were white and gold, and they shined in the light of two suns. Wu aimed for a field near the forest. It was the best he could do. The ship hit the ground hard, bouncing twice before it finally stopped. Metal screamed and glass broke. Wu was thrown against his seat, and then everything went black. When he woke up, he was not in his ship anymore. He was lying on something soft, a bed maybe. The room around him was large and round, with walls made of smooth white stone. Light came from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. It was warm and gentle, not like the harsh lights on his ship. Wu sat up slowly. His head hurt and his body was sore, but nothing seemed broken. He looked down at himself and saw that someone had changed his clothes. He was now wearing a simple white robe that was very soft against his skin. "Where am I?" he said to no one. The answer came quickly. A door opened in the wall and three figures walked in. They were tall and thin, with skin the color of light purple flowers. Their eyes were large and completely black, like pools of dark water. They had no hair and their heads were smooth and elegant. They moved with grace like dancers. Wu had seen aliens before. In his work he met many different species, but he had never seen anyone like these people. They were beautiful in a strange way, like statues come to life. The one in front wore armor that looked like silver leaves. He had a weapon at his side, something that hummed with soft energy. A soldier, Wu thought. The two behind him wore simpler clothes, dark blue robes with gold edges. "You are awake," the soldier said. His voice was deep and smooth. He spoke in Galactic Common, the language that most species used for trade. "Good. The princess wishes to see you." "Princess?" Wu said. "What princess? Where am I? What happened to my ship?" The soldier did not answer. He simply turned and walked toward the door. The two others moved to stand on either side of Wu. It was clear he was supposed to follow. Wu thought about refusing. He thought about demanding answers. But he was alone on a strange planet with no weapon and no way to contact anyone. Fighting would be stupid, so he followed. The hallways were as beautiful as the room. White stone floors, high ceilings with carvings of stars and moons, windows that looked out over the silver forest. Wu saw more of the purple-skinned aliens as they walked. Some wore armor like the soldier. Others wore robes of different colors. All of them stopped to look at Wu as he passed. Their faces were hard to read, but Wu thought he saw something in their eyes. Fear, maybe, or wonder, he was not sure which. The soldier led them to a large door made of gold. Two more guards stood on either side, holding long spears that crackled with electricity. They looked at Wu, and their grip on their weapons tightened. "He is to see the princess," the soldier said, "by her command." The guards nodded and opened the door. The room beyond was the most beautiful thing Wu had ever seen. It was a throne room, with a ceiling so high he could barely see it. Columns of white stone held up the roof, and between them hung banners of purple and silver. At the far end of the room was a throne made of crystal that caught the light and scattered it like rainbows. And on the throne sat the princess. She was younger than Wu expected. Maybe his age, maybe a little younger. Her skin was the same purple as the others, but lighter, almost lavender. Her eyes were not completely black like the guards. They had small spots of gold in them, like stars. She wore a dress of white and silver, and on her head was a thin crown of twisted metal. She was beautiful. Even Wu, who was not usually moved by such things, could see that. The soldier stopped and bowed low. "Your Highness, the creature from the crashed ship." Creature, Wu did not like that word, but he said nothing. The princess leaned forward on her throne. Her gold-flecked eyes studied Wu with interest. She said something in a language he did not understand, and one of her advisors leaned close to whisper in her ear. Then the princess stood up. She walked down the steps from her throne, her dress flowing behind her like water. Her guards moved to follow, but she held up a hand to stop them. She walked alone toward Wu. With each step, Wu could see her expression changing. First there was curiosity, then confusion, then something else, something that looked like shock. She stopped 10 feet away from him. Her eyes went wide. And then her skin changed color. The light purple drained away like water running from a glass. In seconds her skin went from lavender to pale white, pure white like snow, like bone. The room went completely silent. The princess staggered back. One of her guards rushed forward to catch her, but she pushed him away. She could not stop staring at Wu. Her white face was filled with an emotion he could not name. "Your Highness," the soldier who had brought Wu shouted, "what is wrong? Has the creature harmed you?" "No," the princess said. Her voice was shaking. "No, he has not touched me, but look at him, look at his arm." Everyone in the room turned to look at Wu. He looked down at himself, confused. His arms were bare below the sleeves of the white robe. There was nothing special about them, just normal human arms with normal human skin. Then he saw what the princess was looking at. On his left wrist there was a birthmark. It had been there since he was born. His mother used to call it his little star because it was shaped like a 5-pointed star. It was small, no bigger than a coin. He had never thought much about it. But the princess was staring at it like it was the most terrifying thing in the world. "The mark," she whispered, "the mark of the Void Walker." The room exploded into chaos. Guards drew their weapons. Advisors shouted over each other. Someone called for the princess to get away from Wu. Someone else called for him to be locked up immediately. Through it all, Wu just stood there, completely lost. "What is happening?" he asked. "What is a Void Walker? I am just a cargo hauler. I do not know what you're talking about." The princess looked at him. Her skin was still white, but some color was starting to return. The fear in her eyes was slowly being replaced by something else. Curiosity, maybe, or hope. "You truly do not know," she said. "You do not know what you are." "I am human," Wu said. "From Earth. My ship broke and I crashed here, that is all. I am nobody special." The princess laughed. It was a short, strange sound, like she could not believe what she was hearing. "Nobody special," she repeated. "A human from Earth, a creature from the death world. And you carry the mark of the one who will either save us or destroy us, and you say you are nobody special." Wu felt his stomach go cold. Death world. He had heard that term before. Some aliens called Earth that because of how dangerous it was, the high gravity, the extreme weather, the predators. Things that were normal to humans were deadly to many other species. But he had never heard of the mark. He had never heard of the Void Walker. "Please," he said, I do not understand. Can someone explain to me what is happening? The princess studied him for a long moment. Then she turned to her guards and advisors. Leave us, she said. Your Highness, the soldier protested. It is not safe. We do not know what this creature. I said leave us. Her voice was sharp now, full of command. That is an order, everyone out. The guards and advisors looked at each other. Then, slowly, they bowed and left the room. The great golden doors closed behind them, and Wu was alone with the princess. She walked closer to him. Her skin was returning to its normal lavender color, though her cheeks were still pale. She stopped just a few feet away and looked up at his face. My name is, she said, Princess of, and I think you and I need to talk. Wu swallowed hard. My name is Wu, and yes, I think we do. Nodded, she looked down at the birthmark on his wrist, then back up at his face. Her gold-flecked eyes were intense, searching for something. There is an ancient prophecy, she said, thousands of years old. It speaks of a being from a death world who would come to carrying the mark of the Void Walker. This being would change everything. The prophecy does not say if the change will be good or bad. It only says it will be absolute. She paused, letting the words sink in. And you, Wu of Earth, are that being. Wu stared at her. His mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything. He had woken up this morning planning to deliver boxes of machine parts. Now he was standing in an alien palace, being told he was part of some ancient prophecy. This has to be a mistake, he said. I am just a cargo hauler. I am nobody. I cannot be part of any prophecy. Shook her head slowly. The prophecy does not care who you think you are. It only cares who you are, and you are here. You have the mark. That is enough. She turned away and walked toward a window. Outside, the silver forest stretched toward the horizon. The two suns were beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. My people are afraid, she said quietly. They have been waiting for the Void Walker for thousands of years. Some believe the prophecy speaks of a savior. Others believe it speaks of a destroyer. Now that you are here, they will have to choose what they believe. She turned back to face him. And so will I. Wu did not know what to say. He had no words for this situation. So he just stood there, a simple cargo hauler from Earth, and waited to see what would happen next. Princess looked at him with those strange, beautiful eyes. And for the first time since he crashed on this world, Wu felt like maybe this was not all a mistake. Maybe there was a reason he was here. He just had no idea what it was yet. Princess led Wu to a smaller room behind the throne. It was a private chamber, filled with books and scrolls and strange objects that glowed with soft light. She told him to sit, and he did, choosing a chair that looked like it was made from the same crystal as her throne. Did not sit. She paced the room like a caged animal, her long fingers touching the spines of books as she passed. She was thinking. Wu could tell she had a lot on her mind. Tell me about Earth, she finally said. Tell me about your death world. Wu shrugged. It is just home to me. I know other species find it dangerous, but to humans it is normal. We have high gravity, but our bodies are built for it. We have extreme weather, but we learned to survive it. We have predators, but we hunted most of them. It is not so bad. Stopped packing. She stared at him like he had said something impossible. Not so bad, she repeated. Your world has storms that can level cities. Your sun bombards you with radiation. Your oceans are filled with creatures that can swallow ships, and you say it is not so bad. We adapted, Wu said simply. That is what humans do. Shook her head slowly. You truly do not understand how remarkable your species is. To the rest of the galaxy, humans are legends, stories told to children. Most species do not believe you are real. We are very real, Wu said. There are billions of us. I know that now. Sat down across from him. Her skin had returned fully to its lavender color, though she still looked shaken. When I was young, my mother told me stories about humans. She said they were monsters from a world of fire and poison. She said they could survive anything. She said they ate death for breakfast and laughed at danger. She paused. I thought they were just stories, fairy tales to scare children. Then you fell from the sky with the mark on your wrist, and suddenly the stories are real. Wu looked down at his birthmark. The small star shape seemed innocent enough. He could not believe it had caused such a reaction. Tell me about this prophecy, he said. Tell me everything. Nodded, she stood and walked to a shelf, pulling down an old book with a cover made of silver. She opened it carefully and showed Wu a page covered in strange writing. Thousands of years ago, our greatest seer had a vision, said. She saw the future she saw great wars and great peace. She saw our civilization rise and fall and rise again. And at the center of all of it, she saw one figure, a being from a death world carrying the mark of the Void Walker. She turned the page. There was a drawing there, old and faded. It showed a figure standing in darkness with a star-shaped mark on its wrist. Around the figure were armies, some fighting, some bowing. The seer could not see clearly what this being would do, continued. The future was cloudy. She only knew that when the Void Walker came, everything would change. Our destiny would be decided. Wu studied the drawing. The figure could have been anyone. It was not clearly human, but the mark was unmistakable. What do your people believe? He asked. Do they think I am a savior or a destroyer? That depends on who you ask, said. There are those who believe the Void Walker will save us from a great threat. They have been waiting for you, hopping for your arrival. But there are also those who believe you will bring ruin to everything we have built. They fear you. And what do you believe? Close the book and put it back on the shelf. For a long moment she did not answer. Then she turned to face Wu. I do not know yet, she said honestly. I have only just met you, but I know what I saw when I looked at you for the first time. I did not see a monster. I saw a confused man who does not understand why he is here. That gives me hope. Wu appreciated her honesty. Most leaders would not admit doubt. They would pretend to have all the answers. Was different. What happens now? He asked. Before could answer, there was a loud knock on the door. She frowned and called out permission to enter. The door opened and the soldier who had first brought Wu entered. His face was grim. Your Highness, he said, the council is demanding an audience. They wish to speak about the creature. His name is Wu, said sharply. You will use it. The soldier bowed stiffly. They wish to speak about Wu. They are not happy. Sighed, of course they are not. Tell them I will address the council in 1 hour. The soldier hesitated. They also wish to examine him, to confirm the mark, and to test him. Test him? His eyes narrowed. What kind of test? The traditional tests, the ones from the prophecy. Wu Saw's face go pale again. Not white like before, but definitely lighter. Whatever these tests were, they worried her. Those tests were designed for ancient times, she said. They are barbaric. They are tradition, the soldier replied. The council will insist. Clenched her fists. Wu could see her struggling with herself. Finally, she nodded. Very well. Tell the council I will bring Wu before them, but they will not touch him without my permission. Is that clear? The soldier bowed and left. Turned to Wu. Her expression was worried now. I am sorry, she said. The council has power here. I am the princess, but I am not yet the queen. My mother died 3 years ago, and I will not take the full throne for another year. Until then, the council helps me rule, and they are old and afraid. What are these tests? Wu asked. Did not want to answer. He could see it in her face, but she respected him enough to tell the truth. The prophecy says the Void Walker can survive what no can survive. Our ancestors created tests based on this. Tests of strength, tests of endurance, tests that would kill any but that the true Void Walker would pass. Wu felt his stomach twist. And if I fail these tests? Then the council will say you are not the true Void Walker. They will say you are a false sign, a trick of fate, and they will." She stopped. "They will what?" Met his eyes. "They will execute you." The word hung in the air like smoke. Execute, such a simple word for such a final thing. Wu should have been afraid. A normal person would be afraid. But strangely, he felt calm. Maybe it was because he had almost died in the crash. Maybe it was because nothing felt real yet. Or maybe it was because somewhere deep inside he knew he could survive. Humans always survived. That was what they did. "Tell me about the tests," he said. "What will I face?" Was surprised by his calmness. She had expected panic or at least fear. But this human just sat there, asking questions like he was planning for a business meeting. "There are 3 tests," she said. "The first is the test of fire. You will be placed in a room filled with heat. The temperature will rise until it would kill any. If you survive, you pass." Wu nodded. He had worked on hot worlds before. Earth itself got very hot in some places. Heat was uncomfortable, but it would not kill him easily. "The second test is the test of pressure," continued. "You will be placed in a chamber where the gravity is increased. The weight will grow until it would crush any body." Again, Wu nodded. Felt light to him. The gravity here was lower than Earth. If they increased it to what would crush her, it might only feel like home. "The third test is the test of the void. You will be placed in total darkness, without sound, without any sensation. Most beings go mad within minutes. The test lasts 1 hour. This one worried Wu more than the others. He did not like the idea of being alone in the dark with nothing but his own thoughts, but humans had survived worse. Miners got trapped underground for days. Sailors drifted alone on empty oceans. They survived because the human mind was strong. "I will pass your tests," Wu said. Stared at him. "You say that with such confidence. How can you know?" "Because I am human," Wu said simply, "and humans are hard to kill." A small smile crossed his face. It was the first time Wu had seen her smile. It made her look younger, softer. "Perhaps the stories about your kind were not exaggerated," she said. The hour passed quickly. Gave Wu food and water while they waited. The food was strange but not bad. Some kind of fruit that tasted like honey and pepper at the same time. The water was perfectly pure, cleaner than any water on Earth. Told him about while they waited. She told him about the silver forests and the green rivers. She told him about the 2 suns and how they painted the sky different colors at different times. She told him about her people, how they valued art and music and beauty above all things. "We are not warriors," she admitted. "We have guards and soldiers, but we have not fought a real war in 500 years. We are a peaceful people. That is why the prophecy frightens us so much. It speaks of conflict, of great change. We do not like change." "Change is not always bad," Wu said. "No," agreed, "but it is always hard." When the hour was up, the soldier returned. This time he was not alone. A dozen guards accompanied him, all armed with those humming weapons. They surrounded Wu like he was a dangerous animal. Walked beside him as they made their way through the palace. She held her head high, looking every bit the princess, but Wu could see her hands trembling slightly at her sides. The council chamber was even larger than the throne room. It was round, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Each seat was filled with their purple skin and dark eyes all turned toward Wu. There were maybe 100 of them, old and young. Some wore robes of office, others wore simple clothes. They all looked at Wu like he was a puzzle they could not solve. At the front of the chamber sat 5 who were clearly the leaders. They were old, their purple skin faded to a grayish tone. They wore heavy chains of gold around their necks, signs of their rank. The one in the center stood when Wu entered. His voice was thin and reedy, but it carried through the chamber. "Princess, you bring the creature before us." "I bring Wu of Earth," corrected. "A guest who crashed on our world through no fault of his own." "A guest who carries the mark of the Void Walker," another counselor said. "Let us see this mark." Wu held up his left arm. The birthmark was visible on his wrist, small and star-shaped. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some leaned forward to look closer. Others leaned back in fear. The lead counselor walked down from his seat. He approached Wu slowly, like a man approaching a wild animal. When he was close enough, he reached out and grabbed Wu's wrist. His touch was cold and dry. He turned Wu's arm this way and that, studying the mark. "It is real," he finally said. "Not painted or tattooed. He was born with this mark." More murmurs, more fear. "Then the tests must be performed," the counselor said. "We must know if he is the true Void Walker or a false sign." "He has agreed to the tests," said. "But I remind the council that these tests are ancient and barbaric, if there is any doubt." "There is no doubt," the counselor interrupted. "The tests are tradition, the tests are law, they will be performed." He turned to the guards. "Take him to the testing chamber. Let us see what this creature from the death world can survive." The guards moved forward. Wu did not resist. He let them lead him away from the council and down into the depths of the palace where the testing chamber waited. He was not afraid, he was ready. He was human, and humans always found a way to survive. The testing chamber was deep underground. The guards led Wu down stairs carved from dark stone, past walls that sweated with moisture. The air grew colder as they descended, and the lights became fewer. By the time they reached the bottom, Wu could barely see. The chamber itself was a large round room with 3 doors set into the walls. Each door was made of heavy metal and covered in ancient symbols. Above each door was a word in the language. Wu did not need to read the words. He knew what waited behind each door: fire, pressure, void. The council had followed them down. All 5 of the old leaders stood at the edge of the chamber, their gray-purple faces serious. Princess stood apart from them, her hands clasped in front of her. She caught Wu's eye and gave him a small nod of encouragement. The lead counselor stepped forward. His thin voice echoed in the stone chamber. "Wu of Earth, you carry the mark of the Void Walker. By ancient law, you must prove yourself. You will face 3 tests. If you pass all 3, you will be recognized as the one from the prophecy. If you fail even one test, you will be executed." He paused to let the words sink in. "Do you understand?" "I understand," Wu said. "Then let us begin. The first test is the test of fire." 2 guards moved to the first door. They turned heavy wheels and the door slowly swung open. Inside was a small room made entirely of black stone. There was nothing in the room except for vents in the walls. "You will enter this room," the counselor explained. "The door will be sealed. Heat will be released through the vents. The temperature will rise until it reaches a level that would kill any. If you survive for 10 minutes at maximum heat, you pass." Wu walked toward the door. He paused at the entrance and looked back at. "How hot exactly?" he asked. The counselor checked a device on his wrist. "Maximum temperature will be approximately 60 of your Earth degrees Celsius." Wu almost laughed. 60 degrees Celsius was hot, yes. It would be very uncomfortable, but it was not deadly to a human. People worked in environments that hot. Deserts got that hot during the day. It would hurt, but it would not kill him. "I am ready," he said. He stepped into the room. The door closed behind him with a heavy boom. He heard locks clicking into place. Then he was alone in the darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he heard a hissing sound as the vents opened. Hot air began to pour into the room. The temperature started to climb. Wu sat down on the floor. He had learned long ago that panic used energy, and energy created heat. The best thing to do was stay calm and still. Let his body adjust. Trust in the strength that millions of years of evolution had given him. The room got hotter. Sweat began to form on Wu's skin. His white robe stuck to his body. The air became thick and heavy, hard to breathe. He closed his eyes and focused on slowing his heart rate. Outside the room, the council watched on screens that showed the temperature climbing. 50 degrees, 55 degrees, 60 degrees. At 60, any would already be dead. Their bodies could not handle such extreme heat. But on the screen, they could see Wu sitting calmly on the floor. He was sweating, yes. His face was red, but he was alive. He was breathing. He was surviving. Impossible, one of the counselors whispered. Not impossible, Princess said. She was watching the screen with a mixture of fear and hope. He is human. This is nothing to him. The 10 minutes passed slowly. When the time was up, the heat stopped and the door opened. Cool air rushed into the chamber. Wu stood up and walked out, his body soaked with sweat but his eyes clear. The first test is passed, the lead counselor announced. His voice was not steady anymore. He had not expected this. Wu wiped sweat from his face. What is next? The council exchanged looks. Then they pointed to the second door. The test of pressure. You will enter the gravity chamber. The gravity will be increased until it reaches a level that would crush any body. If you survive for 10 minutes at maximum gravity, you pass. The guards opened the second door. Inside was another small room, this one filled with strange devices on the ceiling. The floor was padded, like someone expected falling. What is maximum gravity? Wu asked. The counselor checked his device again. Approximately 1.2 times the gravity of your Earth. This time, Wu did laugh. He could not help it. 1.2 times Earth gravity was nothing. Some humans trained under higher gravity than that. Athletes regularly worked out with weights that simulated double Earth gravity. Something funny, creature? The counselor asked coldly. No, Wu said, nothing at all. He entered the second room. The door closed. The devices on the ceiling hummed to life, and Wu felt the gravity begin to increase. At first, he felt nothing different. Then he felt a slight pull downward, like someone had put a heavy coat on his shoulders. The gravity continued to rise. His body felt heavier. His knees bent slightly under the extra weight. Outside, the council watched the gravity readings climb. 0.5 standard. 0.8101.2. At 1.2 they stopped. This was the maximum. Any higher and the machines would break. On the screen they saw Wu standing in the middle of the room. He was not sitting this time. He was standing, just standing there, like nothing was happening at all. Then he started doing something that made the council gasp. He started walking around the room. Slowly, yes. With some effort, yes. But walking, moving under pressure that would have flattened any to the floor. He walks, one counselor whispered. Under gravity that would crush us, he walks. He is not even struggling, another said. Look at his face, he is bored. It was true, Wu did look bored. This gravity was less than what he felt on Earth. His muscles, built over a lifetime of fighting against Earth's pull, found it almost easy. It was like wearing a heavy backpack, uncomfortable but manageable. The 10 minutes passed even faster than before. When the door opened and Wu walked out, he was not even breathing hard. The second test is passed, the counselor said. His voice was weak now, almost afraid. 2 tests down, 1 to go. The council looked at the third door. Unlike the others, this door was completely black, with no symbols or markings. It seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The test of the void, the counselor said. This test is different. It is not a test of the body. It is a test of the mind. You will enter a room of complete sensory deprivation. No light, no sound, no sensation of any kind. You will be suspended in liquid that matches your body temperature perfectly. You will feel nothing, hear nothing, see nothing. Most beings go mad within minutes. You must survive for 1 hour. Wu looked at the black door. This test worried him more than the others. The body was strong, but the mind was fragile. He had heard stories of people who went into sensory deprivation tanks and came out screaming. Some never recovered. But he had also heard stories of people who found peace in the void, who meditated and found clarity. It all depended on the person. "I am ready," he said. The door opened. Inside was darkness so complete that Wu could not see his own hand in front of his face. The guards led him inside by touch and helped him into a tank filled with warm liquid. It was exactly his body temperature. He could not feel the liquid against his skin at all. They placed something over his ears to block all sound. Then they left, and the door closed and Wu was alone. Complete darkness, complete silence, complete stillness. At first it was peaceful. Wu floated in the void, feeling nothing, hearing nothing, seeing nothing. It was like being in space, he thought, floating among the stars with nothing but yourself. Then the thoughts came. Without any outside sensation to distract him, Wu's mind turned inward. He thought about his life, about the choices he had made, about the people he had lost, about the people he had failed. He thought about his father who had died when Wu was 10, a mining accident on Mars. They never found the body. He thought about his mother, alone on Earth, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table. He thought about how he had left her to become a cargo hauler, chasing money across the stars. He thought about the girl he had loved in school, Hana. She had wanted him to stay on Earth to build a life with her. He had left anyway. Last he heard, she was married with 2 children, happy without him. The thoughts grew darker. The void seemed to press in on him. He felt like he was shrinking, becoming smaller and smaller until he would disappear completely. Time lost meaning. He did not know if minutes had passed or hours. He did not know if he was awake or dreaming. Then in the deepest part of the darkness, Wu found something. A small spark of light that seemed to come from inside himself. It was not real light. It was something else. A sense of self that could not be destroyed. He focused on that spark. He held onto it like a drowning man holds onto a rope. He remembered who he was, Wu of Earth, son of Jin and Mi Young, human, survivor. The darkness was still there. The void was still pressing, but now Wu pressed back. He thought about the good things in his life, the sunrises on Mars, the taste of his mother's cooking, the feeling of stars rushing past his ship as he flew through space, the small moments of beauty that made life worth living. He thought about Princess and her gold-flecked eyes. He thought about how scared she had been and how brave she had tried to be. He thought about how strange and wonderful this galaxy was, full of people he had never met and places he had never seen. The hour passed. Wu did not notice. When the door finally opened and light flooded the chamber, Wu was still floating peacefully. His eyes were closed. He was smiling. The guards pulled him out and helped him stand. Water dripped from his body as he faced the council. They were all staring at him like he was a ghost. "He survived," one of them breathed. "He actually survived." "Of course he did," Princess said. She stepped forward, her face shining with relief and pride. "He is the Void Walker. He is what the prophecy promised." The lead counselor was very pale. His hands were shaking, but he raised his voice so the whole chamber could hear. "Wu of Earth has passed all 3 tests. By ancient law, he is recognized as the one from the prophecy. The Void Walker has come too." There should have been cheering, or at least celebration, but the chamber was silent. The council members looked at Wu with a mixture of awe and fear. They had hoped the tests would kill him. They had hoped the prophecy was wrong, but now the truth was undeniable. The Void Walker was real, and he was here. Took Wu's hand. Her touch was cool and gentle. "Come," she said. "You need rest and food. We have much to discuss." She led him out of the testing chamber, past the silent council, past the nervous guards. As they climbed the stairs back to the surface, Wu could hear whispers following them. "The Void Walker, the Void Walker, the Void Walker." He did not know what the future held. He did not know if he would save this world or destroy it, but he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again. 3 days passed after the tests. 3 days of strange peace. Princess gave Wu his own quarters in the palace. They were beautiful rooms, with windows that looked out over the silver forest and furniture that seemed to float on cushions of light. Servants brought him food and clothes. Guards stood outside his door, though Wu was not sure if they were protecting him or watching him. He spent most of his time with. She showed him the palace gardens, where flowers grew in colors he had never seen. She took him to the royal library, where books floated in the air and turned their own pages. She introduced him to music, which was strange and beautiful, like wind singing through crystal. Each day, Wu learned more about this world and its people. There were artists and dreamers. They valued beauty above all things. Their cities were works of art. Their ships were sculptures that happened to fly. Even their weapons were elegant, more like jewelry than tools of war. But there was fear beneath the beauty. Wu could see it in the way people looked at him. He could hear it in the whispers that followed him wherever he went. The prophecy hung over everything like a storm cloud. No one knew what it meant, but everyone was afraid of what was coming. On the third night, Wu stood on a balcony, watching the two suns set. The sky was painted in shades of pink and gold. The silver forest below them swayed in a gentle breeze. "My people do not know what to do with you," said. "The prophecy says you will bring great change, but it does not say what kind of change. Some believe you are here to save us. Others believe you are here to destroy us. The council is divided." "What do you believe?" Wu asked. Was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at him with those gold-flecked eyes. "I believe you are a good man," she said. "I have watched you these past 3 days. You are kind to the servants. You treat everyone with respect. You ask questions about our culture because you truly want to understand. That is not the behavior of a destroyer." Wu smiled. "I told you, I am just a cargo hauler. I do not want to destroy anything." "Perhaps that is why the prophecy chose you," said. "Perhaps we do not need a warrior. Perhaps we need someone who can see beauty in things and want to protect it." Before Wu could respond, a loud alarm began to sound. It was a deep, heavy sound that shook the walls of the palace. His face went white. "That is the defense alarm," she said. "We are under attack." They ran through the palace. Guards rushed past them, heading for their stations. Servants screamed and fled to the lower levels. The beautiful, peaceful world Wu had been enjoying for 3 days was suddenly filled with chaos and fear. They reached the command center, a large room filled with screens and blinking lights. Military officers in silver armor stood around a central table that displayed a map of the space around. On the map, Wu could see dozens of red dots approaching the planet. Enemy ships. "Report," commanded. One of the officers turned to face her. His face was grim. "Your Highness, a fleet has emerged from hyperspace at the edge of our system. 57 ships. They are moving toward at full speed." "Who are they?" asked. Your Highness." The room went very still. Wu saw fear on every face, even looked shaken. "Tell me about Wu said. Turned to him. Her voice was tight. "They are our ancient enemies. They are conquerors. They move from world to world, taking what they want and destroying what they cannot use. 3,000 years ago they attacked. We barely survived. We have been at peace with them since then, thanks to a treaty. But it seems the treaty is broken." She looked back at the map. The red dots were getting closer. "We cannot fight them," she said quietly. "Our military is small. Our weapons are old. We are artists, not warriors. If they attack in force, they will destroy us." "How long until they reach?" Wu asked. 6 hours, the officer replied, "maybe less." Wu studied the map. His mind was racing. He had spent years flying through dangerous space. He had seen pirates and raiders. He had learned how to read tactical situations, how to find weakness in an enemy's formation. The fleet was large, but it was spread out. The ships were not flying in tight formation. They were confident. They did not expect resistance. "Can you show me the enemy ships in more detail?" Wu asked. The officer looked at. She nodded. The map zoomed in on the approaching fleet. Wu studied the ships. They were ugly things covered in spikes and armor. They looked like insects made of metal, but they had the same basic design as most ships in the galaxy. Engines in the back, weapons in the front, bridge near the center. "Do you have any ships that can fight?" Wu asked. "A few," the officer said. "Patrol ships, old frigates, nothing that can stand against them." "What about the ship I crashed in?" Everyone stared at him. "Your ship is a wreck," said. "It cannot fly." "The ship cannot fly," Wu agreed. "But the cargo might be useful. I was carrying machine parts, engines, power cells, tools. If your engineers are as clever as I think they are, they might be able to use those parts." The officer leaned forward. "What are you suggesting?" Wu pointed at the map. "The fleet is spread out. They are not expecting a fight. If we hit them fast and hard in small groups, we could do real damage. Not enough to win, maybe, but enough to slow them down, enough to make them think twice." "That is suicide," the officer said. "Our pilots are not trained for combat." "Then I will lead them," Wu said. The room went completely silent. Everyone stared at him like he had lost his mind. "You would fight for us?" asked. "You would risk your life for a world you have known for only 3 days?" Wu looked at her. He thought about the silver forests and the green rivers. He thought about the beautiful music and the floating books. He thought about a people who valued art and beauty and peace, a people who did not deserve to be destroyed. "The prophecy says I will bring great change," he said. "Maybe this is what it means. Maybe I am here to fight for you." His eyes filled with tears. She stepped forward and took his hand. "You truly are what the prophecy promised," she whispered. "Not a destroyer, a protector." The next few hours were madness. Engineers worked through the night, pulling parts from Wu's crashed ship and installing them in the old patrol ships. Pilots who had never seen real combat trained as best they could, learning tactics that Wu taught them. Wu worked harder than anyone. He showed the engineers how human engines worked. He taught the pilots how to fly fast and hit hard. He gave them confidence because he believed in them, and belief was sometimes the most important weapon of all. By the time the fleet was 4 hours away, had assembled a small force of 12 ships. They were not much. Old patrol ships with borrowed parts and nervous pilots, but they were something. Wu stood in the hangar looking at the ships, stood beside him. "You do not have to do this," she said. "You could stay here safe in the palace. The council would not blame you." "The council would be happy if I died," Wu said with a small smile. "It would solve their prophecy problem." Laughed despite herself. "That is probably true." Wu turned to face her. She looked so young in that moment, so scared, but also so strong. "I am going to come back," he said. "I promise." "Do not make promises you cannot keep." "I am human," Wu said. "Keeping promises is what we do." He climbed into the lead ship. It was small and fast, armed with weapons that the engineers had upgraded with human power cells. It would not last long in a real fight, but it did not need to last long. It just needed to hit hard and get out. The other pilots climbed into their ships. They looked at Wu through their cockpit windows, waiting for his signal. They were scared. He could see it, but they were also determined. Wu activated his communication system. "This is Wu. All pilots, listen carefully. We are not going to fight the head-on. We are going to hit them fast from multiple directions, target their engines first. A ship without engines is useless. Then get out. Do not try to be a hero. Do not try to win. Just do damage and survive. Do you understand?" 12 voices came back through the radio. "Yes, sir." Wu smiled. "Then let us show these what can do." The hangar doors opened. The silver forest spread out below them. The 2 suns were rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Wu pushed his ship forward and shot into the sky. Behind him, 11 more ships followed. They climbed through the atmosphere and into the darkness of space. Ahead of them, the fleet waited like a swarm of metal insects. 57 ships against 12. The odds were impossible. The plan was crazy. Any sane person would turn back. But Wu was human, and humans had never been very sane. He pointed his ship at the enemy fleet and pushed the engines to maximum. The stars blurred around him. The ships grew larger in his. Behind him, the pilots followed. They were scared and inexperienced and outmatched in every way. But they had something they did not expect. They had hope, they had courage, and they had a human leading them. That would have to be enough. The battle was chaos. Wu flew his small ship through the heart of the fleet, dodging weapons fire and weaving between enemy vessels. His hands moved on the controls with speed and precision born from years of flying through asteroid fields and pirate territory. Behind him, the pilots followed his lead. They were not natural fighters, but they were fast learners. When Wu said turn, they turned. When he said fire, they fired. When he said run, they ran. The first pass through the enemy fleet was devastating. They were not expecting an attack. Their ships were spread out, traveling in a loose formation. When Wu's group hit them from multiple angles, they did not know how to respond. Wu targeted the engines just as he had taught the others. Human power cells gave his weapons extra punch. The first ship he hit lost power immediately, drifting helplessly in space. The second exploded when its fuel lines ruptured. The third tried to turn and fight, but it was too slow. Wu was already gone, racing toward the next target. 3 ships destroyed in the first pass. The fleet was in confusion. Enemy commanders screamed orders at each other over the radio. Some ships turned to chase the attackers. Others held their course toward. None of them could agree on what to do. That was exactly what Wu wanted. Second pass, he called into his radio. Target the ships that are chasing us. Make them regret leaving formation. His pilots obeyed. They looped around and hit the pursuing ships from behind. 2 more enemies went down, their engines torn apart by weapons fire. But they were adapting. They were beginning to organize. More ships turned to intercept Wu's group. Weapons fire filled the space around them, green bolts of energy that screamed past their cockpits. One of the ships took a direct hit. It spun wildly, smoke pouring from its wing. Then it exploded in a ball of fire. Wu felt the loss like a punch to the gut. He had known these pilots for only a few hours, but they were his responsibility. They had trusted him. "Stay focused," he said into the radio. His voice was steady even though his heart was breaking. "Keep moving. Do not give them easy targets." The battle continued. More ships fell, but so did more ships. The numbers were against them. No matter how well they fought, they could not beat 50 ships with 12. Then with 8, then with 5. By the time an hour had passed, Wu had only 4 ships left, including his own. They had destroyed or disabled 15 vessels, but it was not enough. The rest of the fleet was still coming, still heading for. Wu pulled his ship back, gathering his remaining pilots around him. They were battered and exhausted. Their ships were damaged. They had nothing left to give. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I thought we could do more. I thought we could stop them." For a long moment, there was silence on the radio. Then one of the pilots spoke. It was a young woman named Ah. She had been one of the most nervous at the start, but she had grown braver with each pass. "We are not done yet," she said. "We still have weapons, we still have engines, we can still fight." "There are too many of them," Wu said. "We cannot win." "Maybe not," Ah replied. "But we can buy time. Every minute we keep them busy is another minute for our people to prepare, another minute for help to arrive." Wu was about to argue when his sensors picked up something new. Ships, coming from behind them, coming from. His heart sank. Had they sent a second fleet? Were they about to be trapped between 2 enemy forces? Then the ships came into view on his screen, and Wu felt hope flood through him. They were not ships, They were, dozens of them. Old ships, merchant ships, ships that had no business being in a battle, but they were armed. Their hulls were painted with the colors of, and they were heading straight for the enemy fleet. His voice came through his radio. "Did you think you were going to have all the fun without us?" Wu laughed out loud. It was a sound of pure joy and relief. "What is this?" he asked. "Where did these ships come from?" "Every ship on that could fly," said. "I asked for volunteers. Every merchant, every pilot, everyone who could hold a weapon said yes. They watched you fight for them and they decided to fight too. You inspired them, Wu. You showed them what courage looks like." The volunteer fleet hit them from behind. It was not a clean attack. These were not military ships or trained pilots. They flew in chaotic patterns and fired wildly. But there were so many of them and they were so unexpected that the fleet simply fell apart. Ships that had been chasing Wu turned to face the new threat. Ships that had been heading for stopped in confusion. The careful formation that they had rebuilt was destroyed in seconds. Wu saw his chance. "All pilots with me," he called. "One more pass, everything we have, let us finish this." He pushed his damaged ship forward. The 4 remaining military pilots followed. The volunteer fleet pressed from behind. They were trapped between 2 forces, surrounded and confused. The battle turned into a rout. Ships began to retreat, jumping to hyperspace as fast as they could. Others tried to surrender, but there was no one to surrender to. They were not taking prisoners. They were too angry for that. By the time the second hour ended, the fleet was gone. Some had escaped. Many had been destroyed, but not a single enemy ship remained near. They had won. Wu flew his damaged ship back toward the planet. His hands were shaking. His body ached. He had never been so tired in his entire life. The other ships followed him down. Military and volunteers together, flying in formation for the first time. When they entered the atmosphere, people on the ground looked up and cheered. The sound rose from every city, every village, every home. A sound of joy and relief and gratitude. They landed in the palace hangar. Wu climbed out of his ship on legs that barely worked. He was immediately surrounded by people who wanted to thank him, to touch him, to simply see him with their own eyes. Then the crowd parted, and Princess walked through. She looked different than he remembered. She was wearing armor now, light silver plates over a dark bodysuit. There was a weapon at her hip. Her hair was pulled back from her face, and her gold-flecked eyes were bright with tears. She walked up to Wu and stopped in front of him. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then smiled. "You kept your promise," she said. "You came back." "I told you," Wu replied. "Humans keep their promises." Laughed. It was a beautiful sound. Then she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Wu held her tight. He could feel her heart beating against his chest. He could smell the flowers in her hair. He could feel the warmth of her body against his. Around them, the crowd began to cheer again, but Wu barely heard them. In that moment, there was only. The days that followed were busy. There was damage to repair and wounded to heal and dead to mourn. Wu attended every funeral. He learned the names of every pilot who had died following him into battle. He would never forget them. The council, which had wanted him dead just days before, now treated him like a hero. They fell over themselves to thank him, to praise him, to offer him rewards. Wu took nothing. He did not want their gold or their titles. He had not fought for rewards. A week after the battle called him to the throne room. She was wearing her formal dress again, white and silver, with the thin crown on her head. But when she smiled at Wu, she was not a princess. She was just a woman who was happy to see him. "The council has made a decision," she said, "with my strong encouragement." "What decision?" "They have decided to offer you a place hereon, not as a prisoner or a guest, as a citizen, as one of us." She paused. "If you want it." Wu thought about Earth, about his mother and his old life, about the cargo routes he had flown for years. That life seemed so far away now, like a dream from another world. Then he thought about the silver forests and the green rivers, about the music and the art and the beauty, about the people who had fought beside him and the princess who had believed in him. "I have nothing to go back to," he said slowly. "My ship is wrecked. My life on Earth was empty, but here," he looked at, "here I found something worth fighting for." His eyes shined with tears. "Is that a yes?" "Yes," Wu said, "I will stay." The crowd in the throne room erupted into cheers. The council applauded. Guards stamped their feet in celebration. But Wu only had eyes for. She stepped down from her throne and walked toward him. When she reached him, she took his hand. "Welcome home, Wu," she said. "Void Walker, protector of friend." She paused and added in a softer voice that only he could hear, "And perhaps someday something more." Wu smiled. He had crashed on this planet by accident. He had been caught up in prophecies he did not understand. He had faced tests that should have killed him and battles that should have been impossible. And somehow through all of it, he had found a home. Not bad for a simple cargo hauler from Earth. He squeezed his hand and looked out at the cheering crowd. The two suns were shining through the tall windows, painting everything in gold. For the first time in a very long time, Wu was exactly where he was supposed to be. And that, he thought, was the best feeling in the entire galaxy.